he gets the opportunity tonight to see how his team can cope in difficult conditions on the road.
Well, yeah, and honestly, we got a chance to sit and talk with him before his first match, he and his staff, and it's this opportunity, these moments where there are stakes that he was waiting for. Yeah, I think the friendlies were a good way mostly for him to get to know the team to get to know the staff. It was almost more a bonding session than really preparing for games. This one is a game where they need a performance. There are things at stake, and so it'll be a great test.
We are underway in the office. A crowd of around 15,000 expected in this famous old 35,000 capacity stadium. And the United States here playing in Jamaica for the first time since a World Cup qualifier back in November of 2021. That one finished tied at 1-1. Tim Weah scored that day. He is in the squad but suspended after that sending off in Copa America, so will join the team in St. Louis ahead of the next leg of the game on Monday. Mackenzie turns the ball back, and we already see the difficulty that the players are having with the quality of the pitch.
Yeah, you can see that big divot that ball just hopped over. And also the grass is very long. I saw that when they were shaking hands with the referee at the beginning. You wonder if tactically they wanted to grow the grass long just to keep the ball from flying around, to make it a little stickier, make it a little slower so that they could shift and close down the national team of the U.S. as they try to build out of the back. And already you see Jamaica pressing high up the field to try to create those turnovers.
Jamaica advancing to the quarterfinals by finishing top of their Nations League group with 8 points from 4 matches, finishing a point above second place Honduras and third place Nicaragua. Steve McLaren, 4 games into his reign as the Jamaica head coach. They've only conceded once in 4 games under the former England boss. In October, they beat Nicaragua away by 2-0, and they tied 0-0 against Honduras in Kingston. In September, a draw against Cuba and a win by 2-1 against Honduras. Here are Jamaica down the right side. Leon Bailey, the Aston Villa man, trying to get away into the penalty area. Bailey looking to pull it back. Ream gets the block in and then can clear up towards halfway, where Ricardo Pepi will bring it down. Lays it back towards Fulham's Anthony Robinson, who turns it over to Casey Palmer in the midfield. McKennie, forward it goes for Pepi. Pulisic has made a run, wanted the ball played early, but Musa, as he did in the last window, taking up that position on the right side of the attack, linking up here with Weston McKennie. And back it comes for Scally, the first real period of possession for the United States inside the Jamaica half here into the 3rd minute of this one as Scally carries it forward.
Well, you can see that back 5, a little tactical adjustment to make things more difficult. Play to 4 against Honduras. Jamaica, especially now, going to stay compressed. Close down the passing lanes in between, but look at Anthony Robinson way high up the field and Christian Pulisic tucking into the middle of the park. I mean, that's something we saw a lot in the first game under the Pochettino era.
Pulisic pushing forward. Robinson, all the way back it goes towards Tim Ream. Tessman, Tanner Tessman making his first start of his US career. Substitute appearances for him in the last 2 matches against Panama and Mexico. It's his first competitive US senior appearance as the ball is floated out wide to the right for Musa.
That's one of the things I love about Tessman, is he's always trying to play positive. You can see he just took a little glance over his shoulder, and there was pressure there initially, but after the first touch it wasn't there, and rather than just play the easy ball, he tries to play positive.
6 changes to the starting 11 for Mauricio Pochettino from the loss in Mexico, the last time they were in action in the October window. Bailey pushing forward towards the edge of the box here, trying to squeeze that one through towards Shamar Nicholson, the forward from Spartak Moscow. And now Weston McKennie playing an advanced role in the midfield tonight. Rolls it forward down the right for Scally to push forward from fullback. As soon as the US got the opportunity to spring forward there, the pitch really slowed the counter-attack. Johnny Cardoso's ball through the middle. Pulisic slides it in towards Ricardo Pepi! And it's Pepi's goal inside the first 5 minutes! Ricardo Pepi handed the start by Mauricio Pochettino, and it doesn't take him long to find the net. Taken superbly.
Well, this is what I love about this free roll that Christian Pulisic has. I mean, he was demanding the ball in the central position, and Pepi doesn't strike it cleanly, but he just has the right accuracy on it. Watch his plant foot just slide a little bit as he goes to hit it. Not the cleanest of finishes, but you take it. And a wonderful run, how he opened his body up, and Pulisic put it in perfect pace, perfect precision to allow Pepi to go get the goal. Wonderful start for the U.S.
Ricardo Pepi scoring in back-to-back appearances. He came off the bench in Mauricio Pochettino's first game in charge in Austin to score in that 2-0 win against Panama. Then didn't make the trip to Mexico due to injury, but he gets the start tonight. He told everybody loudly, clearly in the build-up to this game he doesn't like being called a super sub. He said he felt he was ready to take that step for both club and country, and he's been handed starts for PSV the last few weeks, and he has scored. And he's now been handed a start for the US, and he scored as well.
I mean, you couldn't see it in the replay, but Christian Pulisic was demanding the ball, and he just lent it for one moment to allow himself to get turned, and you can just see how explosive he is in those tight areas.
And in this two-leg tie, it could be an all-important away goal as well for the United States. Jamaica last year in the Nations League quarter-final lost their first leg at home in Kingston against Canada, and then went on the road and won in Toronto to get through to the CONCACAF Nations League semi-final, where they played against the United States. US winning that one in extra time. On that night, it was a very early Jamaica goal. In fact, earlier than the one tonight. It was inside the first minute of that game in Arlington, Texas, the last meeting between these two, when Jamaica scored through Greg Lee, who plays in the side tonight. Pulisic rolling it through for Robinson, who's in round the back. It's Anthony Robinson. He's denied by Andre Blake, the Philadelphia Union goalkeeper. And back here the other way comes Jamaica up towards halfway. And it's played through for Shamar Nicholson to chase. Nicholson with a couple of career goals against the US. Into the box, Casey Palmer gets a touch. Matt Turner comes a long way and is able to smother. Ricardo Pepi's first US goal as a starter since March of 2023, when he got two in a CONCACAF Nations League game against Grenada. 7 goals in his last 10 games for club and country for Ricardo Pepi.
Here's another look at that chance, and the first ball that was played through from Christian Pulisic, you really got a sense of how slow the field's playing, because Robinson thought he was in behind, had to slow down and receive that ball. Aaron can't be happy with the start of this game. Obviously giving up an early goal, but they have a back five. Plenty of players that were back in positions, but the U.S. just so easily playing through that first line of pressure and finding those pockets in between that back five and the first line of confrontation.
A perfect start on the road in Kingston at the National Stadium for Mauricio Pochettino and the United States. Pochettino wanted his group to learn and improve from their road display in Mexico. Talked about matching physicality, adapting to the circumstances, focusing on aggression. But he also saw the quality from his team to be able to unlock that Jamaican defence early. And Ricardo Pepi on target with the goal. And that's coming off the back of a goal and an assist against Breda on Saturday for PSV in his third start of the season in a 3-0 win. Start this year for Pepi. Started against New Zealand and against Brazil, both 1-1 draws. Here's McKennie. Mr. McKennie forward down that left side, gets onto the ball from Robinson. Back it comes for Pulisic, who fires it over.
Lovely combination, and this ball, it just sits up perfectly. But you see Pulisic, rather than putting his laces through, he just kind of changed his angle of his foot to try to go with the instep. Just probably not trusting the bounce off the surface. I mean, that's the beauty of this free roll too, is with Robinson, who has, I forget 2 lungs, he has 5 lungs. I mean, he can cover that whole wing. We saw it, you know, in the first game, last international break. I mean, that's got to be a wonderful thing for Christian Pulisic to have, you know, not only the trust that there's a player that can get forward and defend, but it just makes that back line stay and have to honor the runs that Robinson makes in that wide position. I thought the Berhalter era, and I really loved a lot of the stuff Greg was doing with the team. I thought at times Robinson and Pulisic was just too static. They were on the same line, and it just wasn't as dynamic and dangerous as it could be. And this free roll, which I got to give Berhalter credit too, that Berhalter had done sometimes with Gio Reyna or Pulisic. Pochettino's just latching onto it right away.
Mari Bell, the Luton Town defender, finds Casey Palmer, who plays for Hull City in the English Championship. Starting tonight, playing in Europe for Jamaica. All of them playing outside of their home country. Pulisic tracking back here as Mikisa tries to get away down the right side. Next to Mikisa, plays for Verdun Sport in Switzerland. McKennie helping that ball forward. Plenty of success in Nations League games for the US, leads all US players with 14 Nations League appearances and 6 goals. In fact, his last US goals came in the Nations League against Grenada back in March of 2023. It's the 34th all-time meeting between these two teams. 7 of the last 10 decided by a goal or less. Lee plays it forward. Cut out there by Johnny Cardoso. Scally gives it away towards Casey Palmer. Palmer through the middle. Nicholson with a nice turn on the edge of the box. He's still going. And Matt Turner comes out. And has he given away a penalty? He has. Nicholson pulled down.
And it starts with a really poor giveaway on the side by Scally. And lovely little chop here, and it's too much, and you wonder. Right there, McKenzie just goes in a little soft. He thinks he can win that, and it's a penalty. There's no touch there from Turner, and he knows it's coming. Nicholson, he's already starting to fall to the ground, but he has every right. He cut the ball and knows the goalkeeper's coming out, and again, the surface just holds the ball up a little bit, but a couple sloppy plays there, but Scally giving the ball away really cheaply, and McKenzie's just got to go through the player there, be sure of winning that challenge.
Referee Juan Calderon, his 5th game in charge of the United States, awarding the penalty as Turner fouls Nicholson. Former Premier League player, Damari Gray. Gray against Turner to level it, and Matt Turner comes up huge with the save to keep it 1-0. Head in hands for Steve McLaren. A glorious opportunity missed for the home side, but what about Matt Turner? Redemption immediately from the US keeper. In. Matt Turner just complaining about a little bit of close attention coming his way. Mari Bell, his 20th cap, right on the toes of Matt Turner inside that 6-yard box. Swept into the front post, headed away there by McKenzie, hammered to halfway by Christian Pulisic, and Mauricio Pochettino wandering towards The edge of his technical area, just ushering his players up the pitch. Bell. Finds Bell once again. Left foot floated ball forward as Ream was trying to get there. Nicholson flicks it away, but Robinson can bring the ball up that left touchline, charging forward towards halfway. You mentioned the engine on Anthony Robinson. We've seen it time and time again. He's played every minute of the first 11 Premier League games for Fulham this season. 90 in the 2-0 win at Crystal Palace on Saturday. Christian Pulisic.
I mean, the great part is his consistency and his performances. I mean, he is the starter. Or the bad part is he is so clearly the starter. I mean, there's really no one that's close to unseating him, and they got to keep him healthy.
Jamaica pushing forward with Nicholson down the right side. Damari Gray wanted it played in. Damari Gray missing the penalty. Now for El Ettifaq in the Saudi Pro League.
Oh, here we got I thought we'd get a chance to see that penalty. I mean, there's the foul, and I mean, Turner just. What a wonderful save. I mean, you know, some people might say it's at a good height for him, but I mean, there's plenty of pace on that. I mean, that's a wonderful, wonderful save. And Gray's he's picked aside. I mean, you could see he just absolutely hammers that, and it's well into the corner too. That's a phenomenal save from Turner.
Damari Gray just making 3 league appearances this season in the Saudi Pro League after injury. Hasn't been going particularly well for El Ettifaq. They're 12th after 10 games. Steven Gerrard, the former Liverpool captain, the man in charge of Damari Gray's club. Here's another look at that save as Turner was able to tip it away.
Yeah, first player to go up to him, his buddy, his center back, McKenzie. That, yeah, if you're being critical, and McKenzie, his performance is quality, it is good enough to be critical of. He's got to make that play, and he knows it. And you know, his buddy behind him makes the big save to bail him out.
Just saw Matt Turner there talking with Tony Jimenez, who is the new goalkeeping coach with this US men's national team. He was brought in and has worked a lot with Maurizio Pochettino. Turner said it's been an eye-opening experience. He brings completely different demands. They're learning to understand each other. They've had lots of video analysis together, but also that Tony Jimenez went to watch Matt Turner's only appearance with Crystal Palace in the League Cup against Aston Villa. He was in the stands, went to see him, so they're starting to build that relationship. And
well, the coaching staff, you know, we know they think highly of Turner and you know, his leadership qualities for sure, and we've seen it for years with the national team. And if you've met him, he's one of the most wonderful people. He's got a great character, and it's just hard when you're a goalkeeper. You're not playing regularly. It's just hard to get that confidence, that momentum, that inertia. But you know, you never know what can happen. A few starts and you know, a good performance, obviously in the League Cup, as you said. Wait for a shot.
Matt Turner has saved 3 of 8 penalties for the US now, including 2 against Jamaica. Stopped Leon Bailey at the 2023 Gold Cup. McKennie's ball in, laid back for Musa. Towards halfway, Casey Palmer battling there with Yunus Musa.
It's interesting, you see Pochettino, and for those that maybe didn't watch the game or didn't see the broadcast, Pochettino moved Musa in his first start and has continued to play him in this wide position, which is not unnatural. Musa has played over his career in that right spot. had a really good performance in his first game, and it opens up opportunities. And for the coaching staff, it's really about getting Musa confidence, getting him back in his game. He just had a few performances that weren't there, and that play, moving him into a different spot helped.
Let's take a look at our AT&T Netcam as Matt Turner comes up big with the save, having given away the penalty in the first place. Sounds like there could be an early change here. In fact, there is, with Tillman coming in to replace Johnny Cardoso. Disappointment for Cardoso, 20 minutes in here. So the 23-year-old who plays with Real Betis, it was just his third start of the year. Defeat against Colombia, defeat against Canada. He missed the October camp with injury, and now he has to leave the game tonight.
That's definitely a blow for sure. Yeah, obviously you hope it's nothing serious, but going into a international break with two games that mean something, and also there's players, especially in that position, are struggling with injuries. Not a lot of depth in that area.
Hayden Morris is out with an injury. He is not available for this one or for the return leg. This ball's played back towards Weston McKennie. Got Brendan Aronson on the trip as well due to illness. Let's hope that he will be able to participate in St. Louis on Monday.
Yeah, he does have Musa in that wide role, and it can move naturally into that spot. But obviously we saw the substitution, and Tillman will go in. You wonder if that moves Weston McKennie slightly back, or if Tillman will play like for like in that deep position.
I asked Mauricio Pochettino yesterday when we chatted with him whether or not the experiment of changing Musa's position to try and build his confidence worked in the last camp. Of course, he got the goal, his first international goal. But he said he's seen him come back in a completely different player. As Turner has to get there to clear it away. He says, absolutely, it seems as if Musa has recovered his confidence. It's lovely to see him happy, need his energy in the game, whatever position he plays. And he likes the flexibility that he provides. And Christian Pulisic was talking about how Yunus Musa had such a great performance last week as well in the Champions League. So things have turned around a little bit for Musa, who didn't have a great September international window.
And I just remember that replay of him scoring the goal. Just the smile on his face, but also the smile on his teammates' face of seeing him get that.
Turner clears it away under pressure from Nicholson. Across the back, it's Damian Lowe, former Philadelphia Union man. Down the left from Greg Lee, who scored against the US in March. US Soccer on TNT is brought to you by Volkswagen, presenting partner of US Soccer. We are right at the midway mark of the first half, although there will be a little bit of time to be added on through injuries in this first 22.5 minutes. The United States are leading through a fifth-minute Ricardo Pepi goal. It was his 12th goal as a US men's national team player. And he's the fourth player to score 12 goals for the US before turning 22 years old. And it's not a bad list, the other three players that he joins who had 12 goals before the age of 22. Landon Donovan, Josie Altidore, and Christian Pulisic. Pepi in elite company.
I was about to say, that's not a bad squad right there.
Had a couple of goals before against Jamaica in October of 2021. World Cup qualifying game in Austin. And so far, so good for Mauricio Pochettino's team. Greg Lee with a throw down the left side. Former England youth international. Who's played the full 90 in the last 3 games for Jamaica. Parmek through the midfield. Leon Bailey trying to get away. 5 goals and 30 caps for the Aston Villa forward. Bailey towards the 6-yard box, marshalled away there by Robinson superbly.
Yeah, you can see Bailey, I mean, he's just a handful. Every time he gets the ball, he wants to take players on. And Tespin, not the fastest player, but just shepherds him right into Robinson. He got the help. I mean, that's just one of the things about an experience, especially left side of that back line with Ream and Robinson being so close to each other, is just great decision making at times there.
Mainly back after not playing for Jamaica since last November's Nations League quarterfinals. He was named to the Copa America squad initially, but didn't join the team. He was suspended for the March Nations League window after breaking a curfew. He said at the time he was taking a break from the national team. He called it a very unprofessional national team, but new manager.
He's back.
He's back. And a big bonus for Jamaica to have Leon Bailey back in. Played against Matt Turner in the League Cup for Villa. Got an assist that game, but Palace ended up winning by 2-1.
Today's unexpected, obviously, because of the injury, but a good opportunity for Tillman. And B's talked about it. He's just one of those players where there's tremendous talent. It's just he keeps being given a chance, and obviously he's young, and it's a long process, but just want to see him start to spark.
Damari Gray gets the cross in, Turner punches it away. Watches the header over the bar there from Holgate.
Actually, it's great. Comes in. It's a tough ball because it's just above the height that he can grab it. Tyler does well to just make sure that he clears it, and at least is able to punch it out past that 18.
Musa battling for it. Wins the ball on his 6th straight start. It's the longest active starting streak of any player in this US lineup. Lowe skips away. Finds Greg Lee down the left. Sliding the ball forward, can't find Shamar Nicholson. Nicholson with 19 goals and 54 caps. Was fouled for the early penalty as Jamaica missed from the spot. Competitive match under Pochettino in his 3rd game is the earliest competitive game for a permanent US head coach since Bob Gansler back in 1989, who had a competitive game in just his 2nd game in charge. Play turned over here. Forward come Jamaica, and Scally has to clear it away. Mason Holgate pushing forward there. Just a 3rd cap for Mason Holgate, who is currently with West Bromwich Albion in the English Championship. From Everton, played out by Lati Bodier, teammate of Haji Wright's at Coventry City. Wright, coming off injured at the weekend, unavailable for this camp. Pepe. Rolled through there towards the edge of the box. Nicholson battling there.
What a handful Nicholson's been so far. Obviously drew the penalty, but Jamaica has no problem playing direct. Anytime the U.S. has been pressing the ball at all, I mean, they're just launching it. Nicholson's just tiptoeing that back line in the blind spot of the defenders. It's been a handful.
Shamar Nicholson, the man that is down right now.
Pull up until at the end of this.
2 career goals against the US for Shamar Nicholson, both in 2019. One in the Gold Cup semi-final that the US won by 3-1. Actually made his debut against the United States in a 1-0 loss for Jamaica in a friendly all the way back in February of 2017 in Chattanooga. Steve McLaren said they want to make the office squad in October. He played in 8 games in a row before.